Why don't we ever see a penny hiding in the bushes? Because it's always in the cents. A chuckle here, a groan there, but let's face it, in the grand scheme of life, money is no laughing matter. It's a reality that stares us in the face every day, some more than others. The lack of it can turn our lives into a joke we never signed up for, but unfortunately, not everyone finds themselves in the cents. Let's dive into one such story. Meet Mr. Benjamin, a man so frugal he'd squeeze a nickel until the buffalo grunts. Yes, you heard it right. Mr. Benjamin is that guy who will walk 10 extra blocks just to save on bus fare. He's the embodiment of penny pinching, a human manifestation of the saying, "A penny saved is a penny earned." Mr. Benjamin has a good job, a decent salary, but his financial struggles are real. Not because he doesn't earn enough, but because he's too afraid to spend. Now, don't get me wrong, frugality is a virtue, but Mr. Benjamin takes it to a whole new level. Remember the time when he decided to survive solely on instant noodles for a month? A whole month, can you believe it? His kitchen cabinets were overflowing with packets of instant noodles in every flavor you could possibly imagine. His rationale? It's economical and time-saving. But alas, after 2 weeks of noodle mania, he found himself at the doctor's office, being lectured on the importance of balanced nutrition. And then there was the DIY fiasco. Mr. Benjamin, in his quest to save on professional repair costs, took it upon himself to fix his deteriorating ceiling. Armed with a toolbox and a how-to manual, he was all set to play the handyman. But, as you might have guessed, it didn't go as planned. Instead of a fixed ceiling, he ended up with a bigger hole and a living room full of debris. So, what's the moral of Mr. Benjamin's tale? Well, it's not about shaming frugality or discouraging DIY projects. It's about understanding that there's a fine line between being economical and being excessively stingy. It's about realizing that sometimes trying to save every single penny can cost you more in the long run. And that's how Mr. Benjamin, our penny pincher, ended up with a house full of instant noodles and a half-collapsed ceiling. Now, while we may chuckle at Mr. Benjamin's misadventures, there are a few things we can learn from his story. Mr. Benjamin, our penny-pinching protagonist, may be an extreme example, but his story serves as a tangible reminder of the importance of balance in financial management. Living in either end of the financial spectrum, be it overspending or being overly frugal, can lead to unnecessary stress and complications. Take, for instance, Mr. Benjamin's reluctance to hire professional services. While it might seem like a wise move to save a few dollars, it can often lead to more costs down the line. When he tried to fix his own plumbing, he ended up flooding his basement, leading to a much larger bill than if he had simply hired a professional plumber in the first place. Or consider the time he bought a cheap coat that fell apart after a couple of uses. If he had invested in a high-quality coat, he would have saved money in the long run. This highlights the significance of investing in quality. Sometimes it's not about how much something costs, but how much value you get out of it. Mr. Benjamin's story also reminds us to be mindful of our spending habits. While it's important to be frugal and save where we can, it's equally important to know when to spend. It's about finding that sweet spot where you're not overspending but also not compromising on your needs or quality of life. In the end, the key is to strike a balance, to understand the distinction between being economical and being cheap. It's about knowing the value of a dollar, but also the value of your time, your comfort, and your peace of mind. So remember, folks, while it's good to be mindful of where your pennies are going, don't squeeze them so hard that the buffalo starts to grunt. Well, that was quite a journey through the financial jungle, wasn't it? We've laughed, we've cringed, and we've learned a few things from our penny-pinching hero, Mr. Benjamin. Like, who knew a house could hold that much instant noodles? But jokes apart, the key takeaway here is the importance of balance when it comes to handling finances. So the next time you're thinking about your finances, remember Mr. Benjamin and his noodle-filled house. And remember, balance is key. Don't be a penny pincher, but don't let your pennies run wild either.